Okay, once again, Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. This is Krishna Dasa. Today, we're going to start from Shloka 4.34 and we're going to complete the fourth chapter. So, before we begin, let me say the prayers to Guru and God. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om
Guru
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare
Guru
Krishna.
Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So, please keep your Bhagavad Gita open to Shloka 4.34.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यास्यसि पाण्डव येन भूतान्यशेषाणि द्रक्ष्यस्यात्मन्यथा मयि अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानप्लवेनैव वृजिनं सन्तरिष्यसि यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निर्भस्मसात् कुरुते अर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते तत्स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः कालेनात्मनि विन्दति श्रद्धावान् लभते ज्ञानं तत्परः संयतेन्द्रियः ज्ञानं लब्ध्वा परां शान्तिमचिरेणाधिगच्छति अज्ञश्चाश्रद्धधानश्च संशयात्मा विनश्यति नायं लोकोऽस्ति न परो न सुखं संशयात्मनः योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं ज्ञानसञ्छिन्नसंशयम् आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय तस्मादज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्स्थं ज्ञानासीनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगमातिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे ज्ञानकर्मसन्न्यासयोगो नाम चतुर्थोऽध्यायः।
Hare Krishna. So, I think today Lakshmi ji is going to read the translations.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
4.34. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen that truth. 4.35. And when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me, and that they are in me and are mine. 4.36. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. 4.37. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. 4.38. In this world, there is nothing too sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is a mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has achieved this enjoys the self within himself in due course of time. 4.39. A faithful man who is absorbed in transcendental knowledge and who subdues his sense quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. 4.40. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither is it in this world nor in the next. 4.41. Therefore, one who has renounced the fruits of his action, whose doubts are destroyed by transcendental knowledge, and who is situated firmly in the self, is not bound by works. O conqueror of riches. 4.42. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi ji. Thank you for concluding chapter 4. Yeah, so Krishna is going to conclude this chapter with some very, very important, profound teachings yet again. Can you all hear me clearly? Okay.
The first sloka is Sairam's no explained. That is the one I got so excited. Tatpitri Pranibadene.
Yes.
That is the one that Nana, no, he broke down his time. That is why I'm very happy to read that one.
Very nice.
Thank you, Sairam. Thank you.
I also repeat that message many times when people have questions. So today we are going to cover that. Thank you, Lakshmi ji. See, while at the beginning of 4th chapter, Krishna spoke about ascending knowledge and descending knowledge. Does anybody remember? Does it sound familiar? Ascending knowledge, descending knowledge. Yes, Smita ji?
Yes, I remember. I can try. Ascending knowledge is when we try to seek. Descending knowledge is when it comes from the Guru, who is a realized soul, who's actually imparting his knowledge to the disciples. That is the descending knowledge. Yeah.
Excellent. Very concisely put. Thank you.
Okay.
So these are the two types of knowledge. One knowledge is we learn through trial and error, through experimentation and all of that. And the other knowledge is just directly given to us. So for example, Bhagavad Gita is descending knowledge because Krishna himself says that I have given that knowledge myself. I gave it to the sun god, I gave it to Vivaswan, I gave it to Manu. I'm giving it. So just like that, the Vedas, they just come from top down. So the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, they are all examples of descending knowledge where God himself has given that. So what does it mean? It means that knowledge is perfect. And we should take that knowledge with a lot of humility and a lot of faith. So based on that, in 4.34, Krishna is telling us to gain this kind of knowledge. Descending knowledge, he says you gain that from a spiritual guru. And Krishna says you have to inquire from this spiritual guru with humility and submissive mindset. And you should also render loving service to the guru. See, these are all, it's a science. So Krishna is explaining how we can receive that descending knowledge and make the most of it. So he is giving us tips on how we can prepare ourselves. So these are all tips for opening our heart and readying ourselves for this knowledge. So if you see 4.34, as Lakshmi ji said, it's a very profound shloka. Many saints have repeated it. Shirdi Sai Baba has also said the same thing. So let us see what that shloka talks about. There are three fundamental things that shloka contains. The first one is pranipatena. This refers to the act of being humble and bowing down to somebody who is imparting descending knowledge to us. And we have to show respect. So, in the spiritual context, pranipatena also means surrendering your ego and approaching the teacher with humility. So, you have to understand that ego becomes a barrier for us. As long as the ego is active, descending knowledge cannot enter. The ego doesn't let it get inside. So that is why Krishna says, practice humility and surrender. Very, very important. The second is pariprashnena. Very, very important again. See, in Sanskrit, there is a word prashna. Prashna means question. Pariprashna. Why is Krishna using the word pariprashna? Krishna doesn't say prashna, he says pariprashna, because pariprashna means humble inquiry aimed at understanding the concept. In other words, there is a difference between asking a question to your teacher and questioning your teacher. So Krishna says, if you want to actually gain descending knowledge, it has to be pariprashna, which is get into the mode of humility Get rid of your ego and ask for the sake of understanding, not for the sake of questioning the teacher, because that will never let you internalize the teachings. That is the very important word, pariprashna. Same thing holds true for many saints. If you approach a real elevated saint and if you are very egoistic, hey, why should I listen to you? What proof do you have of what you are teaching? And things like that, most saints will just be silent. They don't have to, because that knowledge is for us. That knowledge is not for the saint. So that is why that pariprashna is very, very important for us to keep in mind. And the third is sevaya, rendering spiritual service, rendering service to the spiritual guru. Because we are showing gratitude, we are showing respect. And this also builds a bond of trust with the spiritual guide. Very important. See, if you remember, Krishna has said throughout the Bhagavad Gita that it is confidential knowledge. We discussed this earlier also. So the Vedanta is not hidden, but Vedanta is confidential. The difference is you can have 100 books of Bhagavad Gita with you. Doesn't mean you are going to really understand the teachings. Doesn't mean that it's going to help you internalize the learning. It requires a grace of a teacher. It requires the grace of Guru. It also requires the grace of God. Only then that knowledge will actually make sense to you and you can actually internalize it. That is why that seva is important. And that is why this knowledge is called confidential knowledge. Because how you learn is very important, not just what you learn. Now, I want to go back to the second chapter in 2.7. If you remember, Arjuna is having a lot of debates with Krishna. For everything, when Krishna completes saying something, Arjuna will start with but. Krishna, that's okay, but. So he's always in this mode of debate. And as long as he's debating, Krishna is also enjoying the debate. So for every intellectual question Arjuna has, Krishna gives him an intellectual answer. And finally, Arjuna understands that this is going nowhere. I can ask a million intellectual questions and Krishna will give me a million answers. And Krishna is always going to be right because I know that he knows more than what I do. So somewhere this has to change. I need to now start getting into the mode of tell me something that is going to help me. So what is the turning point? Where in 2.7, Krishna says, Krishna, I am confused. I acknowledge that my wisdom is not going to help me. My wisdom is failing me. And then he says, I accept you as my teacher. Please accept me as your student and teach me what is good for me. That is where Krishna actually starts talking about his own philosophy and what is really good for Arjuna. That's very important, because only when a student surrendering is not a bad word. Surrendering is a very empowering word, because surrendering means you have control over your ego, which is a very, very powerful state to be in, instead of the ego controlling you. 99.99% of humanity, the ego controls them. So how can they feel superior? It is a paradox. You feel superior, but the fact is, it is the ego which is controlling you. So if you are under somebody else's control, how can you be superior? So the paradox is, only when you surrender, you actually become powerful, because at that time you have control over ego. You have won over your ego. And only when that happens, the spiritual knowledge will start coming to you. Until then, at the most, intellectual knowledge will come to you. Very important. Because in Vedanta, unsought advice is not allowed. It's not encouraged. So that is why, if you see in Sanatana Dharma, there is no concept of conversion. We don't go and force people. We don't force our views onto anybody. People, if they want, they have to come to us. And we are always open. We are always welcoming. Because that is how spiritual knowledge works. You cannot force it down the throat of somebody. So in fact, Vedanta says unsought knowledge. So if nobody is approaching you with pariprashna and sevaya, with that bhava, then let them be peaceful. Don't disturb them. So Krishna says, because we need to get this knowledge, follow what he is saying in 4.34, get into the mode of humility, get into the mode of pariprashna, and practice seva with humility and love. There is a lot of importance given to the Guru in our culture and in Vedanta in general. So, in Vedanta, it is said, it is believed, and it is also said that spiritual knowledge cannot be purchased. That is the beauty of real spiritual knowledge. It has to be revealed by a Guru, and it has to make sense to you only through the grace of a Guru and grace of God. That is the only way. See, in the material world, in today's world, we believe in buying knowledge. In fact, these days people even buy teachers. Everything has a price. So they think if they pay some money to a teacher, the teacher belongs to them. Come home. You have to come home. You have to teach my kid and teach them the way I want you to teach and all of that. That's probably okay for material knowledge, but spiritual knowledge doesn't work like that. Krishna says you cannot just willpower your way through spiritual knowledge. There is no concept of buying spiritual knowledge. The only way to get true understanding is by pariprashna, paripratena, sevaya, humility, surrender. Get it from a teacher. That's all Krishna is saying. So Krishna says once you have the right mindset, once you purify yourself, and then when you approach a Guru this way, you will get higher knowledge. Now see, now what happens? Somebody like Arjuna may ask a question. Okay, Krishna, you're asking me to do so many things. You're asking me to be humble. You're asking me to be not having ego. You're asking me to do surrender. You're asking me to do seva. You're asking me to respect the Guru. Asking me to do so many things. Okay, I do all of that. I take all these efforts. And then the Guru teaches me. I get some knowledge. But what if I forget that knowledge? Will I have to again do all this effort once more? It's so, what you are saying seems so much to do to get knowledge. Well, it's a valid concern, right? Because material knowledge everybody forgets. So Arjuna wants to know, does the same thing hold true for spiritual knowledge? Then Krishna is providing a very strong assurance. This assurance is strong, it's very good for all of us. So Krishna is saying that if you receive knowledge the way I ask you to receive, if you practice what I am asking you to practice, and then receive knowledge the way I ask you to receive, he says you will never lose that knowledge. Because that knowledge is going to get internalized. And once it gets internalized, your spiritual evolution is going to happen. And when the evolution happens, evolution never goes back. Evolution is always one direction, one way. So that is a very strong assurance coming directly from Sri Krishna. So we can all, have faith and have a positive mindset and practice what Krishna is saying and gain this kind of knowledge without any fear of any of the efforts going waste. There's another very beautiful perspective Krishna is providing here. Krishna says, see, usually what happens, just imagine that somebody took a plane and went back 1,000 years. Imagine. Okay. 1,000, 2,000 years ago, when people were still fighting with sticks and swords. Somebody suddenly introduces a plane there. They see something flying. What are they going to think? The absolute majority is going to say, oh, this is some kind of magic. Nobody knows what's going on. People are going to be afraid maybe. They're going to be just astounded what's going on. And everybody is going to think it is just some unexplainable, some magic. Right? But today, even a kid knows why a plane flies. Because there is the right knowledge we have today, which will help everybody realize that the plane is flying because it is following the laws of nature. It understands the laws of aerodynamics. It knows how to work through those laws of nature. That is why the plane is flying. And even a high school or primary school student all these days, they can also tell you that that's the same principle why ships float on water. They will say Archimedes principle. So they have the knowledge. Because they have the knowledge, they can understand these things. They can understand why something can float in water, why something can fly in the air, right? Similarly, Krishna is saying that once you have higher spiritual knowledge, you will start seeing God in everything. Then the universe will make more sense to you. Your own life will make more sense to you. Your troubles, your problems, your worries, your anxieties, your success, your joy, your happiness, everything will make more sense to you, because then you will have that knowledge. Just like having knowledge of karma helps you understand why suffering happens, this higher spiritual knowledge will help us understand that God's hand is there in everything. Because once you get that knowledge, you will never become delusional again. See, Krishna has said in the past, a delusional mind is a very problematic mind. Because if you are delusional, no good sense will get into you. You will never learn anything, you will never evolve. So once you have this knowledge, you cannot be delusional anymore. So another importance of spiritual knowledge. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that, Arjuna, by truly understanding your inner self, by getting this kind of spiritual knowledge, you will understand that everything around you, from the physical world to emotions, thoughts, you will understand it is all just an extension of your own higher nature. This is how you understand the nature of the soul. Krishna is telling Arjuna. Very profound, right? See, just think of it like, if you stand at the seashore and you look at the ocean, because you have the knowledge, you have seen a map, you have seen the globe, you know that ocean, it's all a one big ocean, then every wave, you know that it is just part of the ocean only. It's very simple for you to, you don't even question it. You just know that, yeah, every wave is just part of the ocean, because you have the knowledge now. Just like that, once you have higher knowledge, spiritual knowledge, you will understand very practically, it will just come to you that everything is part of God. Everything has God's hand in it. That will become just natural knowledge to you. That's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. So Krishna says, once that happens, once you are able to identify that everything has hand of God, everything is an extension of God, then you will know that you have understood your own true nature. That is self-realization. So people ask, okay, Krishna is saying self-realization, self-realization. I think I'm self-realized. How do I know I am not self-realized? How do I know I'm self-realized? So this is the evidence Krishna is saying. The evidence is, does everything around you automatically feel like an extension of God? Do you see God's hand in everything? Does it just come naturally to you? If that vision comes, then you are self-realized. Simple, very simple, right? Yeah, but reaching there is not that simple. And Sri Krishna is again reiterating the importance of staying connected. See, the connection is very important, because as I said, lot of saints, including Krishna and many other saints, have said the same thing, that descending knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, the connection is very important. The connection with the teacher or a guru is very, very important, because you are not buying knowledge. It is not like, I'm just paying some donation, going to a college and just getting some education. It doesn't work like that. So that connection is extremely important, and that is why Krishna is happy to have Arjuna as a friend also. He is very, very keen on building that connection and helping Arjuna build that connection. So Arjuna also feels a very strong connection with Krishna. The same thing Krishna is saying, that form a genuine bond with your guru or teacher. And Krishna says, until you reach that stage of self-realization, you will always have to seek guidance from some guru. Very important. And then Krishna talks about something very, very, very profound. So this is 4.36. Api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrutam sarvayana plavenaiva vrujinam santarishyasi. So why is this profound? Has anybody heard of the Irish poet? His name is Oscar Wilde. Some of us had, if you were in boarding school, especially in India, we would have read about this poet. His name is Oscar Wilde, pretty popular poet. He once said that every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. And that is exactly what Krishna has said many thousand years ago. The point is, no matter how knowledgeable we become, we should realize that we also had an ignorant past. There was a time when we were also ignorant. So we have to remain humble. Just because today we think we are knowledgeable, we shouldn't again become all egoistic and Doesn't matter how knowledgeable we are today. There was a time when we were ignorant. And no matter how ignorant you feel today, you should know that there is hope for you to become knowledgeable. By just following Krishna's principles, you can get ultimate knowledge also. And anybody can become self-realized. In the entire Bhagavad Gita, has Krishna ever said that this caste cannot get self-realization, or this race cannot get self-realization, or women cannot get self-realization? You cannot find that anywhere in Krishna's teachings. Krishna has always said anybody can get self-realization. The only requirement is follow the teachings. That's all. So that is another profound assurance Krishna is giving. Krishna is saying, doesn't matter how much of a sinner you are today. If you follow the teachings and have the right intent, you will also become a saint. It is guaranteed. It is possible. And he says, just because you are a saint, don't become egoistic again. Because you should remember that you are not always a saint. There was always a time when every saint was also a sinner. So, very, very, very profound. So, Swami Mukundananda, he has a very funny way of saying, he says that everybody thinks we are all VIPs. Correct? We all think like that, na? We think we are a VIP. But Mukundananda says, no, but you are all actually WIPs. Work in progress. So we are all work in progress, WIPs, not VIPs. Okay? And then Krishna gives a very beautiful analogy. He says that just like fire can burn even huge pieces of wood to ashes, just like that, this divine knowledge can help burn all your accumulated karmic balances. Wow, so profound. So Krishna says, when you follow these teachings and when you evolve spiritually, when you gain more and more spiritual knowledge, ultimately that knowledge itself will help burn all your karmic balances. So profound. So, we studied karma yoga, we studied nishkama karma already. So we know that every activity generates some karma. Some generate positive karma, some generate negative karma. And now if we try to play the game that, okay, now I have some negative karma, now I will generate positive karma. See, if you try to play that game, right, it will take many lifetimes to get it right. Many lifetimes to get it right. Okay. And what happens is, in the process, you will end up generating negative karma also without realizing. As we discussed, it's very complicated, right? Like as we said last time, let us say somebody is coming to you for help and you are giving that person money. Or like Smita ji was asking this question about, I am teaching something to students. Okay, you went and taught physics to somebody. Good karma? Okay. But that person takes that knowledge and goes and builds an atomic bomb which kills 1 million people. Now, are you willing to take that negative karma? See, that's a game. Very complicated game. You can never win that game if you go that route. Right? Another very interesting fact, keep in mind, is you should not have positive karma balance. You should also not have negative karma balance. Neither positive nor negative. Your karmic balance should be zero, net zero. Only then you get mukti. I mean, if you are going to play the game, the rules of the game says when you have absolute zero, then you get liberation. Imagine how hard it is. So that's going to take us infinite lifetimes to get it right. So Krishna is assuring that don't try to play that game. Instead, surrender. Have humility. Follow my teachings. And that way, when you reach self-realization, which you will, all the karma will just get burnt. And that should be the approach we should take. Nadi Shankaracharya also has said the same thing in Viveka Chudamani. He says, the fire of knowledge turns all actions to ashes in the same way. Even Shankaracharya says that. So even when we progress in jnana, we understand the importance of nishkama karma. The knowledge is what helps us do nishkama karma. And when you do nishkama karma, then you get purified. It's all connected. But that's not just enough, Yoga, so we are all talking about jnana yoga, karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga. These are all beautiful words, but Krishna says, you have to practice. Arjuna, yoga needs to be practiced. That is the definition of yoga, right? Deepali ji? Yoga means practice, right? So Krishna is making it very clear. Krishna is saying, you have to practice and not just have theoretical knowledge. See, I will give you a funny example. I'm giving you this example because I've experienced it myself when I was a kid. Now you can acquire a lot of theoretical knowledge about swimming. Okay, how long the swimming pool is, how wide it is, how many lanes are there, how many different styles are there, what is this style called, what is that style called. Tell me, is it going to help you if tomorrow somebody pushes you into the swimming pool? Is that knowledge going to really help you stay afloat? No. You have to actually practice swimming, right? Just like that, Krishna says, I'm saying I've experienced it because I was like that. I was very paranoid of water. I would always stay, and my grandfather would keep teasing me. He would always say, you need to learn swimming better. And I used to say, yeah, let me learn a little bit more. So I'm busy talking to the senior kids. Okay, what do you do when you jump, and how long can you hold your breath? And I'm asking a million questions, but I'm not ready to take a leap. And one fine day, he just, because he's a very respected man in the village, so he told one of the senior kids, push my grandson into the water. So suddenly I find myself in water. Somebody pushed me, and I was just struggling. But in that 5 minutes of struggle, I learned more about swimming than what I learned in that 1 year of asking questions. So that is the whole lesson. Krishna is also saying just theoretical knowledge is not going to take you. You have to practice. That is what I've been telling you again and again. Things like humility, things like, seva, things like unconditional love, faith. These are all beautiful words, but you have to find opportunities to practice them. Only when you practice, you will realize where you stand. And God will give you opportunities. Opportunities will come. But are you utilizing those opportunities to practice is up to you. So keep this in mind. Always find opportunities, always practice. That is what is really going to help. Like I always say this, it is not important that you know all 700 shlokas by heart. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that, but that's not the goal. No, the goal is take even 10 shlokas, that's okay. But if you can internalize those 10 and if you can practice, then you are on the way to liberation. So you look at the past few verses where Krishna said, have faith, have humility, have a mindset of surrender. Now tell me, how many of us have actually practiced faith? Yes, Lakshmi ji has practiced it. Suchita ji is practicing it. Excellent. Deepa ji, very heartening. Sulata ji, Diksha ji, Simran ji, wow. This is a real satsang. Monica ji, awesome. See, you will get more and more opportunity. Faith is something that you will get to practice every day. And if you realize, sometimes you make a plan and it becomes an aeroplane, because you have some ideas and things don't work out that way. Immediately don't sulk. Immediately don't say, why is this happening to me? Say, oh, this is another opportunity to practice faith. The moment you start looking at your difficulties that way, you are practicing. You are taking the life lessons the right way. Just like that, humility it's easier said than done. It is like, I'll be humble as long as you are nice to me. You say something I don't like and my humility just evaporates. How dare you say that? So these things are all difficult, actually. That is why it is yoga. And we should not give up. We should look at every hurdle as an opportunity to practice these teachings, simple teachings of Krishna. Okay, faith, humility, mindset of surrender, sacrifice, unconditional love, nishkama karma. Make a list of these things. And every day come back and say, today, which one could I practice? See, you will very quickly become a yogi. Now, see, another example, I want to give you one more perspective on this whole jnana thing, So,
Sorry.
in, see, we know in mathematics, we know the concept. We have all done mathematics, multiplication. So, we know the concept that if you multiply 0 with any number, the result is 0. No, doesn't matter how big that number is. It can be 100,000, million, billion, trillion, gazillion. Doesn't matter. If you multiply by 0, the result will be 0. Likewise, why Krishna says practice sacrifice, surrender, give up sense of ownership? Why is Krishna saying that? Because technically, those are all techniques to reduce ourselves to 0. And when you become 0, then no karmic action can touch you, because 0 into anything is 0. Isn't it very powerful, effective? This is what Krishna is teaching us. He's saying, when you let go of ego, when you let go of sense of ownership, when you let go of attachment, when you let go of ahankar, when you are just in a mode of faith, surrender and love, you are in effect reducing yourself to 0. And when you become a 0, then no karmic thing can touch you, because that is a law of nature, right? I mean, anything into 0 is 0. So no matter what karmic things come your way, they will all nullify themselves. So look at it that way for those who are scientifically minded. Another assurance why humility, surrender, all of that is so important. And Krishna says the opposite is also true. If you don't follow that, he says, if you don't have faith, then you will always have an unhappy life. Krishna is not saying, I curse you. Krishna is saying, this is the law of nature. This is Prakriti. This is how it works. He's just explaining how it works. Most unhappy people are people who have no faith. It's very, very practical, right? Because something bad happens, you cannot control that. Like tomorrow, it is suddenly, there is a storm. You cannot control the storm. But people with faith will say, okay, this is a will of God and this is part of nature, and I will take it, and I have faith that at the end something good will happen, so on and so forth. The people who don't have faith, how can this happen to me? Why is it happening where I live? The universe hates me. God doesn't love me. Unhappy. What changed is one person had faith, one person didn't have faith. That is all Krishna is saying. He's saying people who don't have faith will always be unhappy. Very, very practical statement he's making. So the skeptical souls, these are the people who can never get into mode of pariprashna. They are always like, I am smart, I am intelligent, I need intellectual answers. But that lacks faith. So the answers won't make any sense. They are not going to make them happy. You give them 10 answers, they will have 10 more questions. So Krishna is saying that pariprashna is also because that is what means you are getting into a mode of faith. And faith is very, very important. If you don't have faith, you are going to land up being unhappy. And keep one thing in mind: faith is not like a conditional thing. You cannot say that I have faith in just myself, but I don't have faith in God. It doesn't work like that, because at the end of the day, faith is it is like saying strength. I'm strong when I'm fighting you, but I'm not strong when I'm fighting somebody else. Does it make sense? You are either strong or you are not strong. What do you mean I'm strong when I'm fighting this person, but I'm not strong when I'm fighting that person? It doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. Just like that, faith is also like that. You cannot say, I have faith in this person, but I don't have faith in God. Because Krishna says, if you don't have faith in yourself, you cannot have faith in God, and vice versa. If you don't have faith in God, you cannot have faith in yourself, because you are a part of God. So self-doubt. And people with self-doubt, they are very unhappy people. And they are the people who also get depressed very quickly. So as long as we suffer from this self-doubt, we cannot have higher consciousness. And we cannot have a connect with Lord. If you can't have self-confidence, you cannot have a connect with God. Very, very, very important. So we have to deal with it very firmly. So that is why Krishna is then commanding Arjuna. He says, Arjuna, with the sword of knowledge, cut away the doubts that have arisen in your heart. Why so many doubts? Have faith. Have faith in me, have faith in yourself. That is how Krishna is encouraging Arjuna in these final shlokas. So Krishna is saying, oh Bharata, arise, stand up, take action. Why is calling him Bharata? We saw that like throughout Bhagavad Gita, they use different names to call each other and every name has a context, right? So Bharata means the descendant of King Bharata. You know who is Bharata? He is the son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala. And Shakuntala was the daughter of Vishwamitra. So that is the history. And Arjuna is the descendant of that lineage. So he is reminding Arjuna that you are from that lineage and Bharata had responsibility of all of Bharat. You also have that responsibility. Your actions are not just for you. So he says that is one more reason you have to now awake, arise, let go of this doubt. So Swami Vivekananda also explains these words of Krishna very effectively. So Vivekananda says, destroy self-doubt with your intellect. Arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. Very powerful. So that brings us to Pragma 7. Where Pragma 7 says, destroy self-doubt. Your conviction in God depends upon your conviction in yourself. Very profound, very strong, very powerful. Okay, if you always keep asking, why am I not getting that confidence in God? You have to ask, do you have confidence in yourself? Because once you destroy your self-doubt, then you will be able to have faith in God. Very important, very, very profound. And this we can practice, definitely. So with that, we conclude chapter 4. Hare Krishna. This has been such a wonderful journey. Chapter 4, another important milestone for us. So thanks to all Satsang family members for your association and support. So if you can even revise up to chapter 4, even up to chapter 4, if you can revise, you can become a Nishkama Karma Yogi. And that itself is a huge, huge advancement in our spiritual journey. So we just spoke about Pragma 7. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes to revise Pragma 6 and remember what it was. So I think we have dear Anika with us. Anika ji, you want to help us revise Pragma 6?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji. So, Pragma 6 states that worship the Supreme God and worship only out of love, not with the intent of gaining something. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 2.3.10, it is said, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaritihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param, which means whether one is without desire or is desirous of all fruited results, or is after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. So Sri Krishna through this shloka wants to tell us that one must understand his teachings and practice devotional service by approaching him with love, humility, faith, and devotion, and finally surrendering unto him rather than praying to demigods to fulfill one's short-term materialistic desires. Shri Krishna also wants us to know that all the demigods derive their powers from him to manage this material world effectively. Hence, we ultimately have to reach Krishna to seek his infinite mercy. People who worship demigods for materialistic aspects don't realize that their prayers, offerings, and sacrifices reach Krishna ultimately. They're unaware that by doing so, they get stuck in this endless cycle of birth and death, and also Moha Kalilam, which is the dense forest of illusion. Shri Krishna never said that these demigods are not worthy of worship. He said that we must respect, adore, and worship them, expressing our gratitude since they are God's different parts and parcels. But while worshipping them, it shouldn't be for any mundane things. Rather, we should ask them for Ananya Narayan Bhakti. In the end, Shri Krishna knows our needs, and when we surrender to him directly and practice consistent devotion, he will take care of our needs even without us asking.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Very beautifully explained, Anika. You explain better than me. One day you should start helping me conduct these sessions.
I refer to your notes.
It was very nice, Anika ji. Thank you so much for beautifully summarizing. So that was
Thank you.
Pragma 6. And as we said, Krishna
In her
never.
voice,
Yes,
excellent.
Lakshmi ji?
In her voice, no? Oh, the divine love was showing.
Yes,
When she
yes,
read, really, I feel it. I bless you.
yes.
I bless you, Anika.
And I want to just call out that Anika ji prepared this notes past midnight. And so that is kind of dedication. I didn't force her. She was enthusiastic. She wanted to do that. And I was just encouraging her. But Anika ji, thank you for the conviction. You are an inspiration for me also. So thank you very much. God bless you, beta.
Thank you so much.
So I think with that, we conclude chapter 4, another great milestone. And next session, we can do the revision for chapter 4. So as always, I seek some volunteers. I would like to have some volunteers who are definitely the usuals, plus some who are a little shy. So Suchita ji, you are definitely there. Deepa ji is there. Anika is there. Okay. Smita ji, I think you are also going to volunteer. She's a teacher and she's saying no for volunteering. She only likes to give exams to students, you know.
Some responsibilities.
Okay, okay, okay.
I don't
Okay,
know.
okay.
I'm not sure if I can attend next time, but I would love to
No,
attend.
no, I'm just talking a little humorously. Don't take it to heart. I totally respect that. We have one more Smita. Smita Srinivas.
Yes, Guruji. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take some of you. Maybe Minalji is also there. I will take some of you and distribute some questions. Lakshmi ji, I will take you also. And let us revise chapter 4 in the next session then. Okay. Okay. Thank you once more. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. God bless you,
Thank
Anika.
you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare